Well, it's a pleasure to have Speaker Kevin McCarthy with us, Mr. Speaker. You're trying to deal with the Biden administration in this budget. I think I just saw a report that said things are off the rails right now. What do you know? You know everything.
Well, thank you for having me back on. I wanted to come on because you have the smartest listeners in the country, and this is why. They will know that on February 1st, I went to sit down with the president. I said, you know what? Let's put this country back on the right track. Let's get our fiscal house in order, and let's do it when you want to be able to increase the debt ceiling. He said, yeah, let's work. Let's negotiate. Then he ignored me for 97 straight days. So Republicans went and passed our own bill, Limit, Save, Grow. We raised the debt limit, but we also did smart things. You know what we did? We clawed back the billions of dollars of unspent COVID money. We blocked President Biden's student loan giveaway. We made us energy independent, took that energy bill we passed, put it in. We reined in the president's runaway bureaucratic spending. We repealed those 87,000 IRS agents, and we passed that. Then the president had to negotiate with us, but he has bumbled his way through. So today it got off the rails. You want to know why? Because I am not going to spend more money next year than we spent this year. We've got to get our house in order. For 21 straight years, we have spent more than we brought in. But on a 50-year average, we normally spend 21% of GDP. In 22, we spent over 24% of GDP. And we're bringing in more money than we've ever brought in the last 50 years. It's a spending problem, and somebody's got to finally rein it in and say we've got to stop this.
Meanwhile, the president of the United States isn't even in the country. He's overseas. They keep talking about how serious this is, and yet it's apparently not serious enough for him to be here. You know, if it were me, hour by hour, I'd want to know where my team is, where are we, what can we work on. That this guy is so aloof, is he not?
I'll tell you, for 97 days, he said, I'm not going to meet with you, and you just have to raise the debt ceiling. And what people have to understand, what is a debt ceiling? Okay, it is giving your child a credit card and they spent it all and they hit the limit. But year after year after year, all you did was raise the limit until you owe so much on your credit card, you owe more than you make in a year. Because what we owe in debt is larger than our entire economy by another 20%. So shouldn't you, before you raise that limit again, actually look at where you're spending money and eliminate waste? Look, the pandemic is over. We have more than $30 billion sitting out there that was appropriated 2 years ago that was just for the pandemic and hasn't been spent. Why don't you bring that money back? Why don't you put in work requirements like when Biden was senator, he voted for it and Clinton signed it. We found it got people jobs. It took them out of poverty to jobs. And you're only talking about able-bodied people with no dependents. I mean, it's sensible things. It's reasonable.
This is something Obama repealed. I mean, I know there was this was applied during the Reagan era. It was applied during the Gingrich era. And all of a sudden, I mean, on the one hand, we listened yesterday to Wasserman Schultz say we need immigration, more immigration. You know, millions and millions is not enough because the food is rotting right here in Florida. And then on the other side, Porter, she's over there saying we shouldn't force America. And we're talking about, as you say, able-bodied males even to work. It's just not just. Well, which is it? You're subsidizing Americans not to work, but the border's open because you claim nobody will work.
And you know what we want to do? I want to take that money for those 87,000 IRS agents. I want to take that money back and get border patrol agents. You know, let's be able to secure our border. It's just like the budget. The president knew Title 42 was going to be lifted. He knew you were going to hit a debt limit. He ignored both of them, thinking they'd go away. But Republicans in the House passed a bill to protect our border and also raised our debt ceiling, but put a fiscal constraint. And think about this. What the president wants to do when he argues against work requirements, he is literally saying, let's borrow more money from China that our grandchildren will have to pay back with interest to pay somebody not to work who's able-bodied male with no dependents. Why do you want to do that? Let's help them find a job, give their life worth and a sense of pride.
They want to do it because most of them are Democrats. My humble opinion, that's why. Let me ask you this. I don't want to put you on the spot, but, the speaker fight was pretty brutal. We talked about it here at some length. Many of these things that you're pushing, these promises that you've made, your ratings have gone really quite high. Republicans in particular are very pleased with what you're doing, and they want you to stay the course. They want you to hold the line, and I get it. Are these positions that you mostly had, or positions that people whispered into your ear and said, you can have my vote if you agree to do what I tell you to do?
No, these are positions I've had from the very beginning. I know we went through that battle, but that was internally, how are we going to govern with just 5 of us? And if you watched, those votes kind of never changed to the very end. And the one thing I had always promised people, give me an opportunity to govern and you'll see. Watched what I did when we were leader. We've been able to win both times. Why? Because we put the Constitution and the American public first. It's a new thinking here, and we keep our word. We put a commitment to America. So you know what? First bill, we did repeal 87,000 IRS agents. We did keep our word, make a Parents' Bill of Rights. We did keep our word by putting a border security bill on the floor and pass. We did keep our word by making us energy independent. We do it time and again and again. And I think it's not my ratings. What's really happening is they're watching the Republicans in Congress lead because they're listening to the American public. They're focusing on the issues that matter most. The whole reason we have inflation, the whole reason that we had 3 of the largest 4 bank failures in the last couple of months, because the Democrats spent $6 trillion and brought us inflation, made us more dependent upon China. And you know what? Even before we read about what was happening in the FBI, we put together a weaponization committee that would look at, you haven't seen something like this since the 70s, because we believed when we were listening to these whistleblowers about what the FBI was doing, going into Catholic churches to follow people, going to school board parents to look at them because they think they're terrorists. All of that has got to end. And that's what this administration has got to understand. Elections does have consequences. The American people made a difference of opinion inside this House, and we're going to stand up for them, for all those that hadn't been listened to for all those years.
It looks like our buddy Mike Lee over on the Senate side, in particular, spearheaded an effort to round up some Republicans in support of what you folks passed in the House of Representatives. I think it was 43 Republicans. Is that about right?
That is right. He got 43 on a letter, but he got another 2 that didn't sign the letter that said they would go with him, that they would not vote for just raising the debt ceiling. And I will tell you, I cannot say enough positive about all the Senate Republicans. They have been standing with us. They have helped us get stronger. The president would never be negotiating with us. It took him 105 days till he finally appointed 2 people that would sit down and negotiate directly with us. But we're not going to get everything what we want, but we are going to change the course of history. The president first said he wouldn't negotiate. You just had to raise the debt ceiling, and we would break. You know what? That all changed. And at the end of the day, we're going to fight for every inch we can get. If there's part we come up short, we're going to go get it the next day, just like Ronald Reagan told us to do.
Uh-oh, you cited Ronald Reagan. He's so passé, apparently. So I hear. The most successful president in modern history. Well, I want to thank you, Mr.
Americans
Speaker.
Should travel any American that believes that should travel anywhere in the world. And they will cite Ronald Reagan, not as the greatest president, but one of the greatest leaders in the world history, because he believed in freedom. He understood what it meant for, and he would fight for it anywhere in the country. And he understood what the Constitution and personal freedoms meant as well.
Yeah, he made really fundamental changes in the country. I say he's the 3rd greatest president in American history, behind Washington and Lincoln, and that's saying a lot. Is there anything else you want to pass on to the audience? What? Go ahead.
Those are the 3 portraits I have in my office.
Oh, really?
Lincoln, Reagan's behind my desk, Lincoln's on the other side, and Washington's over on the other, down the hall.
Well, then I have to send you one of my portraits. For my God, you should be hanging in. I'm just kidding.
Hey,
Just kidding.
I've
Just
got a
kidding.
picture. I've got a picture of you and I. You winning an award, and I got to be there. Go ahead.
Well, you know what? That was very, very kind of you to come to Florida, the ZOA in Florida
You deserved
here.
it.
Well, you know what? It was a complete surprise. That was very kind of you to introduce me. It really was. All right. Thank you, Kevin McCarthy. Have a great weekend, and good luck with this guy.
Thank you, my friend. Take care.
All right. Take care.